Yeah, I couldn't have said this any better. It's pretty much happening in the United States right now. This is a speech from 1965. Audios from Paul Harvey. And he's talking about if he's reading a speech of what the devil would be, doing. Talking about subverting the churches first and then lying. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what we're seeing right now in the world, and it's happening more in the United States than anything. This is the saddest video that I could actually share with you. I'm certain that people have seen it before, as other people have shared it. But this is pretty much what we're dealing with right now in this world. As wicked as it has gotten, with the liberals, starting their crap up and causing trouble like they are. They're taking God completely out of this country, almost. And they're complaining about statues and flags and all this other crap. They're talking about terrorism in the United States. And we never had this problem before. And it's like, well, really? There are unforeseen evil, wicked spirits out there that are doing the dirty work of the devil right now, subverting our churches, our schools, our homes, our families, our friends that we meet, the acquaintances that we meet. They're all being subverted to this. This is a very thing that our young people are learning to be subverted by the devil himself, and works of the demons that are doing the dirty work. And our country right now is paying a heavy price with this virus is now rampant in the United States and around the world. It's a bowl of judgment that's being poured upon the world. And it's all happening due to people's actions and the way they act and behave. This is one of the most invigorating stories that I could share with you. I don't know if too many people out there are Christian and whatnot, but this pretty much shows if Satan really does take control of the United States, what's it going to be like? What's going to happen, when he does take over? Pretty much people are listening to the news lately, and they're just behaving the wrong way towards this. It's bound to happen in the end days, and it says in Ezekiel it's in the end days of what happens in other parts of the Bible. and it tells people, repent of their sins. But do you see people repenting? Because of this, they're not going to, because they are very, stubborn group of people that they flat out can't give a darn about it. They think, well, it's not going to happen to them. Especially with this garbage Antifa, that's out there. I hate to say it, but them and Black Lives Matter, a group of terrorists, they are doing the work of Satan right now. And it's successfully subverted some of our police officers into believing that this group is justified in doing what it's doing, and are doing it for peace. Well, we all know, and most of us know, that communism is the evil doing of the devil, and fascism is another group of political group that is doing the evil as well. It's like up here in Indiana, last week, all of a sudden the fascist party shows up. A nationalist fascist party of the United States of America, or if you want to call them nationalist socialists, or the brown shirts, Silver Legion. Back in, when my parents, were smaller, my dad was born in 1927. My mother was born in 1944. During the 1930s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, I don't know about now, but they arrested people like this. And those of you who are trying to say that, okay, it's not right to, arrest communist leaders or members, it's not right to arrest fascist leaders or members, it is right, because they're doing the works of the devil. They're stirring problems up in the United States, and the fact that the United States has enough problems with Antifa and Black Lives Matter, now the Nationalist Socialist Party shows up to the party. And, they're starting trouble. But that little speech, it was, told by Paul Harvey in 1965. And I had heard it once before, several times before. And there is truth to it. And I hate to tell you this, people, but most of it's already happened. He subverted our churches. He's taken it out of Congress. The word "In God We Trust." He's taken it out of our schoolings and said that, having the Bible is not right. That's against, people's beliefs. And you've seen metal detectors, you've seen drug sniffing dogs, you've seen pretty much everything. Everything that Paul Harvey had said during the 1965 speech, if he was the devil, pretty much took, place. It pretty much took place during, millennium, I would say. It didn't happen in the early, 90s. We never heard of anything like a metal detector or, drug sniffing dog. We didn't have to have any of that. You fast forward about 10, 11 years, and all of a sudden, you've got metal detectors. You have to walk through them in the schools just to even get into the schools. And every Wednesday, my old high school, like right after I graduated, there was drug sniffing dogs. Same was at DeKalb. A liaison officer come right into the school and would open up the lockers. And, if anybody had a gym bag or something like that, we were searched. There wasn't getting out of it. But, yeah, he's really done, his works on this world. And mostly the United States he's worked on. We went from a God-fearing country straight to, I don't care about God. I don't care about, having it. We just want to be an atheist and all this other garbage. But yeah, I thought that speech was interesting when I found it again. And I thought about sharing it with the world. And, my personal, belief, I really don't approve of some of the crap that's been going on, like, Muslims converting Christians and Jews forcibly at gunpoint and all this other crap. And, this racism that's been going on in the United States, black on black crime, and, white on black and black on white crime. It makes you wonder if it really is racism or it's just, you're there, I want to commit a crime, and, do things that you're not supposed to be doing. But, seems like every time I turn around, it's either, nearby Fort Wayne or some city that's, had a shooting, had a drug bust or something. And just today in Michigan, I don't know if those of you had seen the news, but it talked about, a white woman and her family was at a Chipotle restaurant, and I guess the white woman bumped into this black woman's daughter. They got into an escalation argument. Things got out of hand, and I guess the woman tried to back up and almost hit this black woman. She pounded at our window, and next thing you know, this woman draws her handgun. Probably the wrong thing that she could have done. I mean, if she would have been in danger, that would have been one thing, but drawing your gun for that type of reason will get you prison sentence. See, this is just a very few examples of what's going on in the world right now. And it almost makes you want to believe that right now is, it could be this year, it could be next year. Christ really comes back. We don't know. And then you're seeing false prophets appear. And it says in the Bible that in the end there'll be false prophets, and trying to promote his work, but will sway the public towards the devil's work, towards the devil's way, in other words. I don't know those of you who have actually heard about a one world religion, and I don't know what the heck you call those churches, but it'll actually be not like a church, but like a mega church. But it won't be a church at all. They'll be playing rock bands and all this other stuff. But it has nothing to do completely with church at all. If you listen to lyrics, like I have, you really have to watch what you're listening to. Those are the kind of churches that will be, ruling over, people. And then there's been rumors of churches that will be virtual or something like that. Only one world religion. The Antichrist will be the one that promotes it. And the false prophet will be the one that says that I am God. And when you actually hear him say that, you know right then and there that he's a false prophet. And those of you already know that have a brain who the false prophet is. But question is, who's the Antichrist? And those of you who are trying to say that it's Trump or Biden, Obama, whoever, we really don't know until he actually does come on the scene. He will promote a 10-year peace treaty between the Jews and the Muslims and the rest of the world. And it's signed, but after a few years go by, it will be broken. And that's when Armageddon actually, takes place. But before that, nobody that has a brain or, that is pretty much a Christian, believes in God, and, and Jesus, he died for his sins. Those are the people that are not going to live through the tribulation hour. They're going to be gone in a twinkling of an eye. The ones caught on the planet are the ones that are going to be facing tribulation. And they're going to have a rough time of it. And they'll have a mark in their right hand or their forehead that no man will buy or sell or trade without that mark. And his number is 666. The mark of the beast. Right now, 2020 or 2021 could be the day that we see Christ. We don't know. But with everything that's going on, with all the police brutality, with all the rioting with the killing of George Floyd. And the media lying about George Floyd just to promote the terroristic actions of Black Lives Matter. And then Antifa on the scene. I really do think that we're going to be meeting our maker sooner than later. And that we're going to answer before and kneel before him and explain our actions of our deeds that we've done in life. But those who are not willing to confess are likely the ones that are going to be read a full list of their deeds that they've done throughout their life. And they're going to be shunned upon, and told to depart from him. I never knew you. And you never knew me when you were alive. And you never worshipped me and never did good deeds in my name. So why should I have anything to do with you? Depart from me. I never knew you. And, those of us that are going to hear those words are going to be, immediately cast in a lake of fire. And when you're cast into that fire, it's going to be very painful. And it's going to be never-ending hell for people that are going to eventually see it. They're going to experience it. They're going to feel such horrific pain. They're going to wish they would die. They would just die. Well, your body's not dead in hell. Neither is your soul. And a lot of people, they get confused. Well, I thought you have to die to go to hell or heaven. Well, usually God tends to give those that are not understanding, usually he gives them a chance to repent and to redeem themselves. And it's like, I don't know if I should tell this story. People might think I'm a crazy person. They might think that, you're just a liar. But back when I was 19 years old, I did experience something like that happened. Long story short, I did end up having a trial, take place when I was just, 19 years old, in a car crash. It was, fully blamed on me afterwards, but, yeah, I saw my life flash before me, and, all of a sudden, things started happening. And it's like, people are saying, no, you were knocked out because the paramedics would have been there to revive you. No, unfortunately, it took the paramedics 45 minutes to, come to the house, come out to where I was at, and do anything. But by then, my soul was back in my body. I was alive. I was, fully functioning, kicking and everything, and had real bad whiplash. But I just had an out-of-body experience to where it literally did feel like you died. And when I had died, so to say, what had happened was, when I had the out-of-body experience, I began to go through this tunnel. It was light all at one point in time, and all of a sudden you're starting to hear voices, and you're thinking, well, where's that coming from? Well, that voice was our maker, Jesus Christ. And he told me it wasn't my time yet. And I thought, what? Where am I? And I was told that, okay, I was experiencing an out-of-body experience, that I was momentarily deceased. And what had happened was, I was quickly, taken, basically to the depths of hell. Different parts of, hell. There's purgatory, and then there's a secondary, stage, and then, finally hell. And as I went through, all three of these stages, starting with purgatory, you could literally see, people that were being tortured, in purgatory first, but they weren't being tortured, too much. They were just being reminded of, their minor deeds. They needed to straighten up soon because their judgment was coming. Well, I get through that stage, and I move on to the secondary stage of, hell. And the next thing I know, the torture it starts to get a little worse. You start seeing people, being, literally laughed at, tormented, and they're in, well, I'm going to call it a cell, but it's like a cube in the form of a, diamond or a box or something. And all of a sudden you see, figures they're not the figures that you want to see. They're walking around and they're laughing at people. And in these cells, they've got for instance, they go by your fear. And according to the fear that I had, apparently, I'm afraid of, being cut on and, dentist and all this. And it's like these beings knew right then and there, what I was afraid of. And they knew that I was afraid of spiders. They knew I was afraid of bees and wasps and stuff like that. And what they did is they basically played on your conscience. And, after a while, it would stop, a little bit. And then all of a sudden, it would start right back up. It's like a replay. It's like a record player. It never stops. And it's like, you go down further with this one cell, and this guy's having his face completely ripped off. Come find out, it's like a record player. It happens all over again. And then above this cell, it has your life that you replayed, before you. And it's not a real long projection of your life, but it's a short version of it, what you did before you died. It don't actually show it show you the whole thing until you're actually, in hell permanently. But it was shown before me, and it was like a short version. And I thought, well, I don't know what I did in life, to deserve this, but I'm here now. There's nothing I could do. And I thought I was down there permanently. But if you're asking, if a person like me having an out-of-body experience like that, I actually felt pain. Yeah, I felt some, because Christ literally made me feel some of the pain, but he was right there holding my hand every step of the way. But what had happened was, it's like all of a sudden the torture had stopped, and we went down to this other cell, and we saw like a lady. She'd had to been, I think before, it was like 15th, 16th century or something like that. She's into witchcraft. And what I had seen was, oh my goodness, grotesque. Bugs were eating this witch's face off and everything. And it's like, you couldn't even watch it. You go down further than the next cube. It's different tortures, different methods of inflicting pain on a person. But as you got deeper into the depths of hell, you would actually start feeling the heat. It was almost like a volcano on your skin, and it would burn it off, and then start all over again. And people were actually being thrown into the lake of fire and being pitchforked. And Nina, I remind you, I'm not lying about any of this. This is an out-of-body experience. I told it, to some people, and they thought, well, you're wacky, you're nuts, you're crazy. No, it was a real out-of-body experience. I had died, and I had gone to hell for 45 minutes. And what had happened, after all, the torture was done, I had seen, Christ, it was like he was in a white robe. You couldn't hardly see his face. He outstretched his hand, and, I was told to take his hand, that he was going to let me go back to my body, give me another chance. 19 years old and thinking he know it all, just a snot-nosed punk. And Now that I'm in my early 30s, I look back at that day and it's in that night to where I ended up in the car accident. And, I'd wondered, why something like this could ever happen to me. Why did it happen? What was the reason that it had happened? Well, after the car accident happened, I didn't momentarily die. What I had done is I seen my whole life flash before me, and there were reports that said that, I steered the steering wheel, out of the way after the car accident. No, that was not my hand that was doing it. See, people don't believe in supernatural beings that, are good spirits that help people, when they're in trouble. Like, angels. They don't believe in angels. There really are angels out there that have, saved multiple people's lives. And, my guardian angel was there for me that night. It was a wet, rainy, night. And it's like, it just happened outside my house. I couldn't believe it. I thought, of all the places to have a car accident, and I have it right out in front of my house. And, it was dark that night. It was damp. It was about 7:30, 8 o'clock. It was just getting dark. It was the nastiest weather we'd had. And, after everything was all ended and done, I'd crawling out of the car. I had glass all over my shirt, all over my hat. My glasses were thrown feet from me in the car. I don't even know how the heck I got out of the car, but my leg, I managed to, free it from the steel that was, the steel door that was budged up against my leg. I managed to free my leg, crawl out through the window of the broken glass without any injuries. Waited for the EMS and everybody to come, and I just collapsed there right on the ground. I had checked up on the other driver, asked if they were all right, just to stay put. Don't move, stay put. Well, the damage was already done. The one guy in the back was in severe head trauma, I could say. I think. I can't remember, but he had a severe, hemorrhaging, I guess, in his face somewhere. I think it was his nose. I don't know. He was bleeding awfully bad. But he wasn't wearing a seatbelt. And the other two passengers had a seatbelt on. But this guy, he'd just been flying down our road that night. And I guess he didn't think that, he was going to hit somebody. When come find out, he did. He clipped me. Spun the car around, and, it wasn't me that took the wheel. I don't know. To this day, I keep trying to figure out how things happen, but I definitely do know it was an angel that took a hold of that wheel, pulled it from my hands, and steered me out of the, you know, trouble, because when I would hit, I lost control of the vehicle. It's almost as if the brake had locked, or the brake hadn't worked, in other words, and just wanted to keep going. So what had happened was it was eased in the field where it lay there. So, long story short, yes, I have been, to the Lake of Fire before. I've experienced some of the pain. I never want to go back there again. It's not a place for anybody to be at. It's like your life is replayed before you, and you're sitting there wondering why is this happening? And then your knees hit the ground and you're sobbing and you're wondering what in the heck happened? Why am I here? I had such, a young life then that could have been snuffed away, but wasn't. Upon the car crash, I was told that I was lucky to be alive. Had it been a newer car, I would have been, killed instantly from it. But, I just wanted to share this video and share my, story on the whole situation. There's going to be a lot of people that are going down. They're going to be in hell because they're not, repenting. They're not living for Christ. They're doing what they want to do. And, that's pretty much what the devil wants you to do. Do what you want to do and not what Christ wants you to do. And that's the biggest mistake that we all make. But we don't realize when we're alive, how such a short time that we have left. See, we're living on borrowed time. This is not our life. Technically, it's not. We either have a life with our Maker that made us, or we can serve, where Lucifer is going to be living, because a lot of people say, well, he's in hell. No. Ladies and gentlemen, no, he's not in hell. He's never been to hell. He was cast into hell, yes, but he was not chained. Therefore, he roams the earth doing his dirty work. That is right, why you see all this violence happening. You see people doing wrong, going out getting shot. You see people committing rapes, robberies. I wish I could find the video from when I seen it a long time back of, the devil explaining, how he works and his ways that he works. It was a very, very sinister video that, I had ever, had seen. And it explained to him, he explained how he would subvert everything to his will and trick the world into believing in the end that he was the only God there is. And, once that happens, before the Antichrist even takes, place, Christians are going to be gone. And, anybody that, believes in Christ, that's lived for him, that's done right by him, is going to be gone. The dead rise first. There's no doubt in my mind that this year or next may be the year that we see him. But I don't think I want to live through the tribulation hour. That's going to be the worst 10 years of anybody's life. Of course, it's going to be cut short, like I said, by the peace treaty that's going to be signed. And it's going to be peaceful for that long, and then all of a sudden it's going to be broken. And every nation will be against Israel. And a third of the world burnt up. And he even talks about that. And when they talk like that, they're talking about nuclear warfare. In other words, you're talking about ICBMs being used. Intercontinental ballistic missiles, for the younger viewers that don't know what ICBM means. The United States has over 400,000 nuclear capable ballistic missiles, but on the other hand, Russia and China had built up too. And what's going to happen is a third of the world's going to be burnt up from all that mayhem. So we'll just have to wait and see, what 2020 has in store. We're halfway through the year right now. It's mid-July. Well, not mid-July, but it's the beginning of July, we'll say, almost. And I suspect things are going to start happening soon. And I don't see, like people are trying to say that they come close to a cure. I don't see a cure in place. Not until, a certain point where they feel it's necessary that there will be a cure. But, yeah, I don't want to see, what's going to happen next. I hope that we don't have to see it. 2020 was one of the worst years of my life. It started with being quarantined in the home for so many days and not being able to go out unless it was to, take family member to, her dialysis, and doctor's appointments. And then, all of a sudden, you hear about these murder hornets. And then, after a while, you start hearing about, well, another, black guy was murdered, which was wrong, to murder another life. But you have to stop and say, the man was not necessarily a martyr. He did some bad things in his life. And in that time period, he will have to answer to the good Lord for it. I'm not judging him based on what he did. That will automatically be done when he faces his Maker. But beating up a pregnant woman and, doing all that kind of took the cake when I'd heard about that. And then, all these rioters. Starts out peaceful protest, and all of a sudden, they kick it up a notch. And they're blaming it all on the cops, but yet, part of the reason is because, Black Lives Matter being their group, they just as much as said that their goal is to bring apart the system and install communist government and, communist laws and ideology. And you really gotta stop and say, no to the whole entire thing. And then you've got these Antifa group. They beat veterans up just like Black Lives Matter. They deface statues just like Black Lives Matter. They spray paint, our flags. Both of them. They deface the American flag and then the rebel flag and all. It's like both are a piece of our history, yet they want to get rid of them. They want to change the Star-Spangled Banner. They want to change the national anthem. It's like, this world's completely screwed up. It's only going to get worse. Now they attack a great legend, John Wayne, and they don't know anything about the man. And he's been dead for who knows how long. And it's like, what are they going to talk about next? Digging his grave up, exhuming his body? Man was an actor, but he was also not anybody to mess with. It's like everything that goes against these idiots out here, is considered racism to them. But yeah, I just wanted to, throw that video out there and see what you guys thought of it.